and I hope you had a fabulous weekend. I wonder how many of you saw signs of spring. Remember a couple days ago I asked you over the weekend to find as many signs of spring as you possibly could. You'll have to let me know how many signs of spring you did find. Maybe you can take pictures of them and put them on our Facebook page. So we're going to start the week with some birthday announcements. So today is Charlotte Lohr's birthday. Happy birthday to you, Charlotte. Here's our big birthday sign. Happy birthday, Charlotte. Can you see all that? Happy birthday. We also have a teacher who's celebrating a birthday this week. Mrs. Root has a birthday on April 15th. Happy birthday to Mrs. Root. And now we're going to get into our reading of Humprey, Spring According to Humprey. We are on chapter 5, but in chapter 4, just to recap, we had Humprey visiting Joey's house, and he was in a little bit of trouble in the last chapter because his cage fell down and he was outside of his cage and it made a big mess. So that's kind of a recap of where we were. And we're going to go on to chapter 5. The title of chapter 5 is The Silly Specks. Joey's mom discovered the disaster first. "Joey," she yelled, tapping on the window. "Come in at once." "Hi," I squeaked to let her know everything was all right. "Poor Humphrey," she said, reaching her hand toward me. "I won't hurt you." She didn't either. She gently scooped me up in her hand, and Joey raced into the room. "What's wrong?" he asked. His mom wasn't happy. She pointed to the mess on the bed. "This," she said. "You put the cage on the windowsill and it fell off. Somehow poor little Humphrey got out of his cage, and look at the mess." "I'm fine," I squeaked. "Really, it was exciting." Joey looked surprised. "Mom, I made sure it was fine. Look, there's plenty of room for the cage to fit on the windowsill." "You're going to clean this up now," she said. "Then I'll wash your bedspread." "Sure," Joey said. "Don't be mad, Mom. I just wanted him to see Skipper catch the frisbee." Joey was true to his word. He's about the best cage cleaner in the world. First, he made a little space for me on the table, surrounded by books so I couldn't scamper or fall off. Then he cleaned up the mess on the bed, washed my cage, and put in new bedding. Before long, my cage looked better than ever, and I was back at home at last. Joey's mom had to admit he'd done a great job. She was bundling up the bedspread when the doorbell rang. Skipper barked a little bit, but then he stopped. "Good dog." "I'll get it," she said. "Me too," Joey said as he followed her out of the room. I waited and waited, and then Joey returned. His mom was right behind him, carrying a large aquarium. "Humphrey, this is amazing," Joey said as his mom set the aquarium next to my cage on the desk. "Wait till you see." "It is pretty amazing," Joey's mom agreed. "I told my dad that we were looking for signs of spring, and he sent this kit with 2 tadpoles, Joey explained. "Tadpoles are found in ponds in the spring, and then they turn into frogs." "Frogs? Like my friend Og?" I scrambled to the side of the cage to get a closer look. All I saw was a little piece of jelly floating in the tank with 2 black specks. "They're just specks," I said. "See, Humphrey? This is how Og started out." "I don't think so," I squeaked back. "There's no way a large green creature could start out as a tiny black speck." "I know it's hard to believe, but we're going to see for ourselves," he said. "Wasn't it nice of my dad to send it to me?" Joey's mom and dad were divorced and didn't live together anymore. In fact, Joey's dad lived in a whole different town. "It was nice," his mom said, "but we'll have to read the instructions to make sure we know how to take care of these things." Joey stared at the strange specks. I could tell by his eyes that he was unsqueakably excited. Suddenly, he jumped up. "I have a great idea," he cried. "I could take them to school and the whole class could watch the tadpoles turn into frogs." "That's a great idea," his mom said. "Much better than keeping him here." I didn't think Joey's mom was very excited about learning to take care of tadpoles. She quickly added, "I'll email Mrs. Brisbane to see if it's all right with her." Joey didn't even notice his mother leave the room. He was too busy staring at those specks. Skipper raced through the door. I felt jumpy, but once again, he didn't even come close to the cage. He just flopped down on the floor and fell asleep. Whew. Joey didn't take his eyes off the aquarium. Humphrey, I can't wait to see those little specks grow heads and tails and feet and just keep growing until they are real frogs. I crossed my paws and hoped they would, but I wasn't sure at all. I'd never seen Joey so excited. He's usually quiet, and sometimes I think he doesn't realize how many things he can do. He's good at art and knows a lot about animals, and he's very good at taking care of me. In fact, I think he'd make a positively great animal doctor. Joey eagerly read the instruction booklet that came with the, thingies. Oh, I get it, he said as he read. Then he looked at me and said, "Here's how it works, Humphrey. These are like eggs in a yolk. They'll feed on the yolk, and pretty soon they'll become tadpoles." "Eek," I squeaked. Joey read on. "Any day now they'll get legs and a head, and after a while, arms." Frogs have arms, I wondered. "Then the tadpole will look like a small frog with a long tail," Joey said. Wow, this is the most exciting thing that ever happened to me. It was nice to see Joey so happy, happy, happy. "Did I tell you they're leopard frogs?" Joey asked. No, I squeaked. I have seen pictures of the creatures called leopards. They are strong and beautiful with spotted fur, but their teeth are large, sharp, and fearsome, much worse than the teeth of a dog. Just thinking about leopards made my tail twitch and my whiskers wiggle. I may be friends with a frog, but I don't think I could ever be friends with a leopard. "Does the book mention if leopard frogs have teeth?" I squeaked. How I wish Joey could understand me. Og may have an enormous mouth, but at least he doesn't have teeth. It takes a while to turn into a frog, but it will be something to see, Joey said. Then he leaped up. As he ran out of the room, he said, "I've got to call Dad to say thank you." I'm used to sitting in my cage next to a tank containing a frog. I'm not used to sitting in my cage next to a tank containing specks. I turned to stare at them, but they didn't say anything. "Hello," I finally squeaked. "I'm Humphrey. I'm a hamster." They didn't even say boing. How rude. I needed to get a better look at the specks, but I waited until that night when Joey was in bed. I hardly ever open my lock that doesn't lock when a human is in the room, but I could see by the glow of Joey's nightlight that he was sound asleep. I jiggled my lock open without making any noise. Then I slowly walked over to the aquarium, which was lit by the nightlight as well. There they were, 2 specks in a clear jelly-like goo. I stared at them, but they didn't move. They didn't do anything. They looked like 2 eyeballs staring back. They certainly look more like eyeballs than frogs. I watched for a while, but to squeak the truth, the specks were pretty boring. So I scurried back to my cage and quietly pulled the cage door shut. It was hard to understand why Joey was so excited about the tadpoles. But then, humans are always hard to understand. When Joey jumped out of bed the next morning, he raced to the aquarium to look at the specks. "Good morning, Joey," I squeaked. "Hi, Humphrey," he said, without even looking at me, just checking out the tadpoles. He leaned in close and stared at them. I'm pretty sure they didn't do anything. When he finally straightened up and looked at me, he said, "Nothing yet." Then he perked up. "Oh, I need to draw a picture of them for the bulletin board." I didn't think it would take a long time to draw 2 specks. Seconds, maybe. But Joey leaned over a piece of paper with his colored pencils and drew and drew and drew. He used several crayons, even though there wasn't much to draw. At one point, Joey's mom said, "Hey, Joey, how about breakfast?" "Coming soon," he called back. "I've got to get this right." When he was finished, he inspected it and then nodded his head. Not too bad. Then he jumped up and ran out of the room. "See you later, Humphrey." I was pretty sure that eating breakfast took a while, so once the coast was clear, I jiggled my lock that doesn't lock and scurried over to look at Joey's drawings. It's not easy for a small hamster to look at a large piece of paper, but I studied what Joey had drawn, and it was beautiful. Where I'd seen 2 specks in clear jelly, Joey had seen so much more. When I glanced at the aquarium, I saw that the jelly really was yellow and green and shimmering. I couldn't risk being caught outside of my cage, so I raced back and closed the door behind me. When Joey returned from breakfast, he took some photos of the specks. "I want to show Dad what they look like," he said. Then he took a picture of me. I stood still and smiled. I'm not sure he could tell I was smiling, but Joey said, "Great!" He raced out of the room again. I haven't seen him so excited in a long time. I squeaked out loud. The specks had nothing to say. Humprey sprang things. Can a speck become a frog? Did a speck turn into Og? We'll have to wait and see what those specks turn into. I hope you all have a great day and tune in tomorrow for chapter 6, which is called Swim, Swim, Swim. I wonder what will happen. Have a great day, everybody.